Hi, everyone. This morning on Meet the Press, Chuck Todd, its anchor, ran a segment that was completely out of bounds and out of the tone and tenor that was established by the story that has been the Charleston shootings and the story that was weaved by the horrible act of Dylann Roof, the 21-year-old white supremacist who killed 9 African Americans in the oldest black AME church in the United States. Well, the world. Now, many are calling for Chuck Todd to be fired because the segment showed black men in prison talking about basically their regrets over using a gun. And they're talking about it when on this day, on this Sunday earlier today in Oakland, white Oaklanders were holding a march about 200-300 strong, calling for whites to get up and do something about violence against blacks, particularly at the hands of police and white supremacists. It said, "White silence is white violence." That was the chant that the crowd was yelling. But in all this, we have Chuck Todd taking the heat, people calling for him to be fired. However, no one bothered to say, you know what, who was it that supported Chuck Todd in this, who's responsible for Meet the Press content? I figured that out. I looked right at, and now I'm calling for the resignation of Shawna Thomas, who is the senior producer on Meet the Press. And Shawna basically took her own issues with black men and used that as the backdrop for supporting this segment that Chuck Todd ran. Shawna figured, who's African American, that as long as Chuck goes out there and takes the heat for it, it's okay, I can sit back. But Shawna on Twitter was basically protecting and retweeting Chuck Todd's segment or tweets about the segment that he ran, including his retort to the attacks on him. So I thought, why would a black woman do that? Now, first of all, let's get the one thing straight. Most of the women I've dated in my life have been white. And you would say, okay, why is that, Zenny? Because when I was growing up, black women rejected me, all right? And that changed later in life, but that's the reason. I'm quite used to interracial dating. Also, most of my friends have been white and male, okay? So it came all of that. But I know the motivations for why I have done what I did, and I have also been able, at 52 years old, to observe what other black folks do when they choose to date interracially and how their psychological issues play out in who they date and why, or who they don't date and why, and what they say, and if they don't say it, what they do. Shawna married a white guy. They got married, I believe, April 25th of this year, according to the Medium blog post that I found in Houston, Texas, if I'm not mistaken. Fine. But the bottom line is that in and of itself, no big deal. Who cares, right? But when you take that and match it to the media message that Shawna had an active role in putting out that makes black men look bad at a time we're talking about white supremacist ideas, okay? And how they should be stopped and addressed and dealt with, and even white people are talking about it, that's gotta make you stop and say, what's wrong with this person, to the point where they would actually dare use a powerful media instrument to basically communicate their own issues with black men. That's all I'm saying, okay? That is all I'm saying. I'm not, obviously, from my own background, I'm not talking against interracial marriage or dating at all. No, I'm not. But what I'm talking about is this unique position that Shawna is in, and how she has basically openly sent this signal that, hey, you know what? I've got issues with black guys. I've got issues with the idea that you're going to talk about someone white using a gun. You're not going to talk about black men and their use of guns. And I've got issues with how we're not presenting that and how we're not calling for gun control in that context. In other words, she wanted to use Meet the Press to shift the conversation to one that is really equal to that put out by white supremacists on the website Stormfront. That's right. White nationalists basically have said, well, they're talking about Dylann Roof shooting black folks. Well, what about all the black folks that kill each other? Well, hey, Shawna might as well just join Stormfront. She basically is one of those African Americans that does these little bitty things to, raise themselves but not change the system, and in fact really keep the system as it is, as long as they're taken care of, as long as their individual life is just fine and they're making money and they're able to do what they want to do and go on great vacations and everything, and that's fine. But that's it, okay? But they dare not work to actually actively change the system. Shawna is one of those. But what makes her particularly dangerous from the perspective of the objective of achieving true racially advanced change, okay, is that she uses Meet the Press to attack black men, to put black men in this horrible light in the face of the Charleston shooting. That's what she did. Am I saying, oh, she's got to turn around and put white folks in a horrible light? No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the problem that Dan Siegel, who's an Oakland resident, friend of mine, and a historic civil rights activist here in the Bay Area, said to me on my video regarding the white protest of those who would kill blacks. He said it to me best today. He said that we have to do something about this segment of society, poor whites, some who believe that their problems exist because of blacks. That is the central issue. It's the central issue. It's one thing for Chuck Todd not to see that, to issue something that's tone deaf, but for Shawna, a black woman, to do it and to be instrumental in advancing this message, and then to turn around and hide behind Chuck Todd, who's white. No. Fire her in the morning. I'm sorry, Shawna. Absolutely. What you did was inexcusable. Absolutely inexcusable. Horrible. Just horrible stuff. That's what I have to say. That's my take on it. I still can't believe it. No, I can believe it.